question comes from a gentleman who's asked to stay anonymous, and it really looks at grief of parents at early 20s and how that might be experienced. I thought the easiest way or the best way to go out and discuss this is to look at the Kübler-Ross stages of grief model to try and explain this, because I don't think that the stage of grief being in the 20s would be much different to whether it was the 30s or 40s, or even a younger age as well. The stages of grief look over the impact in one's life and then obviously over time. And so these are very, very sort of difficult stages, and they don't all work in this exact perfect model of change. Some people won't necessarily go and feel every single one of these states, but the first state that usually comes up is shock and denial. This is when we get the information, it goes out and almost hits us like a ton of bricks. And in some sense, our first response is to say, "Oh, it can't be possible. No, I don't believe that's happened." It's just almost too difficult to go out and kind of accept and come to terms with. And so we immediately reject the idea. Following that, when it does start to sink in, we can see people starting to get quite angry. And that usually often expresses itself towards those that are close to us. We're still trying very hard to reconcile the news, and we feel angry, we feel hurt, we feel in pain. And this is, in some sense, anger is a way of trying to restore control. There's this agitation that we kind of hold. Now, bargaining is something that we can also have, whether it be the grief of stage that someone themselves is experiencing, or whether it be a loved one, where we start to kind of come to terms, particularly if it's, let's say, a terminal illness, where we start to bargain with the condition that we're in. And sometimes this might look like, if I can only stay alive until Christmas, that'll be fine because I want to go out and spend that time with my family. Or, I've got to make it to my daughter's 18th birthday, and it's only 16 months away. Surely I can hang in there by then. We start to bargain in a way of kind of coming to terms with it, but so long as I can get this outcome, I would be kind of happy, or satisfied that would occur. Then we've got the depressive stage, where it's overwhelming and it's all all-consuming, and so it kind of causes this major depressive space of my life is over, the regrets about the past, that there's not going to be a future. It's almost like looking down and just being able to see the hurt and the pain that it's causing, and there's not going to be anything to look forward to, and this fear that comes with that. And then an acceptance phase. You'll see that the curve, it goes in shock and denial. I'm not going to believe it. It's going down into this major depressive sort of state, and then it starts to come up at the last stage, which is the acceptance stage. And the acceptance stage often looks where people are kind of coming to terms with, or they finally reconcile that this is the end of one's life. And it often comes with a sense of calm, a sense of expectation, and not fighting it anymore, but kind of allowing it to just be there without any struggle. And so we can often see loved ones who appear to be, and I genuinely believe that they are, okay with death. And so this is occurring for us as well. The loved ones are looking at someone that we dearly care for, and we can go through that acceptance of, I can appreciate that this is the end of their life. And I think when someone's in their 20s, we might go out and see, and this isn't necessarily valid or accurate or correct, but maybe someone might feel angry for a longer period of time if their personality is such where they can generally maybe be going through a developmental phase, or they're hormonal, being still a fairly young person. They might jump into bargaining for a while, depending on what the parental sort of relationship is, in that they want their parents to be there for some milestones of theirs. They could fall into a deep depression and stay there for a long time. I don't know, but these are the stages. We do find a lot of people sit in depression, and in therapy, I think that's kind of talking about one's grief, talking about the loss of a loved one, the hurt that's come about. We can kind of start to move towards coming to terms with that. And I think talking about it is very helpful, rather than trying to, lean away from it or escape or avoid. And so, these are the stages of grief. Not everyone falls into each one of these spaces exactly, but I think they can be helpful in trying to appreciate what might lie ahead. I think what can be maybe taken away from this is that we have acceptance at the very, very end. And that doesn't mean that we like the acceptance. It just means that we actually come to terms with it. So there can still be hurt and sadness and pain there, but we've kind of found some type of capacity to reconcile that information and begin to live forward with that as well. So I would encourage anyone who might be in any of these stages, whether it is for themselves or watching a loved one or a good friend, maybe you could go out and seek some support, whether it be with good friends, people that you can trust, or professional psychologist, even your GP, going out and working your way through to hopefully a place where we can begin to live with that grief and kind of come to accept that circle of life.